We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I realized if they faked the moon landing, and I assure you with 100% certainty they did.
Did we really land on the moon, or is it some cosmic cover-up? But if we did get there, what did we find? Let's remote view it. For years, there's been an argument brewing. Did we go to the moon or did we fake it? We'll have to answer this question first before we remote view it. Now, we're going to touch on a few pieces of that argument. But if you want a full review, I will leave a link in the description box below so you can review both sides of the argument. Remember, you are remote viewers too. And as you're listening to the information on either side of the argument, feel your body. Does it feel light or does it feel tight? And leave your answers in the description box below. Remember, light is yes and tight is no. All right, let's get into what did they see and is it real or is it fake? Let's do this. Bart Sibrel. He is an independent filmmaker that showed up on the Danny Jones podcast, March 31st, 2025, making the argument that he has leaked NASA footage confirming we never made it to the moon. Now, he makes a compelling argument over the 2+ hours. However, there are some holes in his argument. So let's just take a few and then let's go to the remote view. Sibrel argues that shadows in Apollo photographs, such as those from Apollo 11, intersect at odd angles, such as 90 degrees, rather than running parallel, which claims is impossible with a single light source like the sun. He asserts this proves the images were taken in a studio with multiple artificial lights. The counter-argument for Sibrel's claim that non-parallel shadows in Apollo 11 photos prove a studio setup ignores basic science. The moon's uneven terrain and wide-angle lenses make shadows appear to intersect at odd angles, like 90 degrees, even with one light source, the sun. No atmosphere means sharper shadows, not multiple lines. Simulations and geometry confirm this. Faking it would have been harder than landing on the moon. And for details, visit the Everyday Astronaut. He'll walk you through it. Next up is Bart's radiation argument. He claims the Van Allen belts, those bands of charged particles around the Earth, are a death trap, and no one could have survived them in 1969. Scary stuff, right? Well, not so fast. The Apollo missions didn't just bumble through the thickest part of the belts. NASA plotted a path through the thinner regions, and the astronauts zipped through it in about an hour, way too quick for lethal doses. Their spacecraft also had shielding, and their dosimeters showed radiation levels lower than chest X-rays. The Everyday Astronaut points this out, so it makes that a deal breaker. Not to mention, why didn't the Soviets, who tracked Apollo, call foul if they didn't? First, allow me to make a quick correction. I was referring to Bart as Bart Sibrel. He is actually Bart Sibrel. My apologies for that one. Let's move on to point 3, the flag waves in a vacuum. Well, Sibrel loves this one. He says that a flag fluttering in the Apollo footage proves it was filmed on Earth with a fan. But science would give a different argument. Let's examine. Oh my word, chill, Bart. It's not waving, it's physics again. The flag had a horizontal rod to hold it up, and when the astronauts planted it, the motion made it ripple. No air, no problem. In a vacuum, there's no drag to stop it right away, so it does wiggle a little bit longer. The Everyday Astronaut nails it. It's not a breeze, it's inertia. Not to mention, Mythbusters busted this one. Although Sibrel does not get into the suit matching the footprints on the Danny Jones podcast, it has been mentioned in broader context, with others arguing that the moon landing didn't take place because the footprints did not match what was found on the moon. However, that can be debunked too. Let's take a look. And as you can see, as brought up by the everyday astronaut, the soles are actually different. So what you have is the interior shoe, and then you have the exterior boot, as demonstrated here in this photograph. And although the reasoning Sibrel might argue that the clarity of the footprints suggests artificial conditions like what sand or plaster, and any mismatch between the boot and soles, and the prints indicate staging error by NASA, that too has been debunked, and it will find that on the Everyday Astronaut, The Truth About the Moon Landing. Now, what did Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong see? That's what we're remote viewing. And what I found was so interesting. For years I heard that they had seen this vehicle off to the side, or maybe even many vehicles on the lunar surface, observing them. Then, what is on the back side of the moon? Are there truly bases? Are there bases that are still in use, or is it from an ancient time? Are they ours? Are they aliens? We're going to find out. Let's get started. Now that we've debunked the skeptics and ready to explore the lunar mysteries with remote viewing, let's elevate your journey, personal and cosmic. Meet your must-have companion, the Energy Healing Map at mdhmap.com. Perfect for beginners and pros, it's your guide to clearing trapped emotional energies like ancestral or past life baggage, aligning your vibration with your goals. Imagine releasing old vibes to unlock new skills like remote viewing. With a clear energy field, you'll tap into the unseen, just like those spaceships on the lunar horizon. MDHmap.com helps you heal, grow, and explore your universe. Grab your energy healing map today, clear the past energies, and align your vibe, and see what's out there. Visit mdhmap.com now. There are two craft positioned on the crater. They're watching us. I told you this was going to get good. And one of the first places I remote viewed was, did the moon landing actually take place? And of course I got yes. And I think we have the science now to back it up. For those who are debunking that the moon landing actually didn't take place, you're not taking into the full science behind it. And once you consider the full science behind it and understand how weird things get in zero gravity, or maybe not zero gravity, but lower gravity, things begin to change. And so you can delve into that, make your own conclusion. You don't have to take my word for it. But when I remote viewed, I wanted to remote view from the position of Neil Armstrong. And when I did that, I actually did see this crater and two vehicles, or what looked to me like the shiny, the typical UFOs. And I don't know if my mind was just sort of making an analogy, but I did see the craft off in the distance. And so, as a QHHT practitioner and understanding how consciousness works, as well as a remote energy healer or energy healer, we know that consciousness does not end. So, of course, one of the things I did was connect to the higher self of Neil Armstrong in the remote view. So now I'm layering the remote view with techniques that I've learned with QHHT and energy healing. And what I got was an amazing story. And it actually kind of surprised me. We're going to get into each one of these. But the first we're going to talk about was the statement that Neil Armstrong allegedly made. He allegedly stated there are two craft positioned on the crater. They're watching us. And of course, I get yes. In fact, I'm hearing it right now. Yes. It's almost like screaming yes. Because I'm still tuned into that frequency. However, in the 50, 60 years since the moon landing, 55 years, whatever it is, that information's not come out, but there's a whole bunch of D class ready to come out. So I'm going to be very excited to see if did Neil Armstrong actually in the historical record switch from the regular frequency to the medical frequency for a period of about 2 minutes, and did he make that statement? Now, of course, that's all been glossed over in what we can access as a public, but remote viewing, I'm telling you, we were on the moon. He was on the moon. He walked on the moon. And they did, I feel, both he and Buzz Aldrin did observe those craft. Now, I don't feel I'm getting no interaction. I feel like they were there at the beginning and I feel them leaving. So I think there was a period of time that the astronauts were on the moon. And it doesn't feel that these craft observed them the entire time. I do feel, however, they would see them and then they would go away. So it's almost like, well, we're going to watch the children and see what they do. Why are they here? So it's kind of like they're almost indifferent, the energy I'm picking up that they're observing, but there's like observing with caution. It's almost like you can play in the little sandbox right there, but you're not going to get out of that sandbox. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting. I don't feel that Neil or Buzz felt threatened. So that's the next question I had. Did they feel threatened? So when I tune into those energies, Buzz, who's still with us, thank God, and then Neil, I'm not feeling panicked or anxiety ridden. I'm feeling more curious, you know? And of course, when they come back, they're not going to, hey, guess what we encountered, you know? That there's a lot of reasons why they would want to keep that secret. Mostly because us in mass, we're not very bright. So it can be problematic. So we're going to go ahead and go on to the next subject. What I'm getting in the remote view in connecting with the higher self of Neil Armstrong, it does feel to me that Neil was told not to talk about it. And I feel like Buzz was too. And they were patriots. These guys, they rode the Saturn V rocket to the moon. So these guys have got courage beyond anything that I could ever muster. And so in their minds, from their perspective, they're good patriots and they want to do what's right for the greater good of people. But there was something that took place with Neil Armstrong that almost feels as though there was a telepathic exchange. And to some degree, I feel that Buzz might have also experienced this, although it doesn't come in as strong. But that could be because I'm just actually more tuned in to Neil Armstrong right now. But it feels to me part of the reason they didn't panic, think about it, you're told all your life you're alone and space is so vast that even if space travel was, it just wasn't feasible. And you go with that preconceived idea, although you're open because of what you're doing. And now you have confirmation when you see these alien vehicles off to the distance that, holy cow, there's life beyond us. So it can be a little bit daunting, but what I get is that there was a telepathic exchange, but I don't believe when Neil was receiving it, I don't know that he understood it was telepathic coming from then. I think he may have suspected it because it was almost like a thought intrusion, but it was gentle. And it gave him some information, and we're going to remote view that in an upcoming video. So what was that telepathic exchange? And then Wait a minute. It's coming in real strong. There is something about there's information hidden here on Earth. And that's what's coming in. So we're going to remote view that. I don't have time to get into that now because that is a whole other rabbit hole. We're also going to be remote viewing what is the moon. So just hit the subscribe button if you can so you don't miss that woo. Telepathic communication, but let's move on because there were some other questions I had. Are there bases on the dark side of the moon? This is one thing that I asked Neil Armstrong when I was tuned into him. Absolutely, there are structures on the back side of the moon. And when he saw that, he saw it before he saw that came first. It feels like that came first. And so, but when they landed, then they saw these vehicles, or there's like two. But I feel like he suspected whatever is going on the back side of the moon, these vehicles on the lunar surface are connected to that. But I also feel because of that telepathic exchange, they did not feel threatened. There was no feeling of threat at that time. I still feel very calm. So from his perspective, from my remote view, yes, there are structures on the backside of the moon. And I don't know why I feel when I reach out, when I remote view it, remember you're using all of your senses. So you can all be trained in remote viewing. There's not anybody out there who cannot remote view. You have to be able to, one, clear your trapped emotional energy, get your gunk out of the road, put yourself into neutral, and get some basic skills on remote viewing. And then you'll be surprised what you get. So it's not just limited to a few. You can do it too. But when I feel like there's tubes, okay, or tunnels. And when I place my hands on it in my remote view, it feels like glass, but it's not glass. I know that's weird, but that's what I get. So for you remote viewers out there, let me know. What are you getting? Like tunnels that feel like they're glass enclosures. Bases on this. Yeah, there's definitely bases. They feel alien in nature. Will we go back to the moon? Yeah, I feel like we're going back. We've probably already been there. There feels like there is, if we haven't been back yet, I don't feel that we have. I know that's kind of a disappointment because I know there are people out there that says, oh no, we've been to the moon. We might have, but that's just not the information I'm getting right now. The information I'm getting is yes, there is going to be a moon base. It will be the launch point to go to Mars. And will the government ever disclose what the Apollo astronauts encountered on the moon? Did they see bases or structures on the backside? Will that come out? And it feels like, yes. I feel like they're going to say that, yeah, Neil Armstrong did make this statement or a statement similar to this. It does feel that that is accurate, that it will come in. Will it come in my lifetime? That is the questionable thing. There does feel like there's a bit of a barrier there. But it also feels like there's a breakthrough, like the information is breaking through. So if it comes out, it feels like it's coming out on the back side, like it's going to come out with other information. There's like, ooh, we let the cat out of the bag. That's how it feels. And that could be because maybe we are already exchanging information. I don't know. But I do get that we are going back if we're not already there. I'm not going to say one way or the other because I don't really feel it. This has been such a surprising ride. You know, this is kind of the first time that I've ever remote viewed and then also connected soul to somebody. That was an interesting ride, let me tell you. the information when you do the remote view, and if you can open up and then connect soul to somebody, that's mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing. So anyway, if you like all things woo like me, please give this a like and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another woo video. Next up, what is the moon? We're going to remote view that, and then we're going to remote view, did Neil Armstrong do telepathy with an alien being? And if he did, what did it tell him? Because that came in way strong. All right, that's it for now. Take care, and I hope to see you in the next woo.